morning, good day, good evening, whatever time you're watching this episode of What Now Irishman. My guest today, my conversation partner, is Gran Torino himself, Mr. Rowan Croft. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Oh, Martin, how are you, sir? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much for doing this. I know everybody's busy, and I'm just going to get straight into it. Nobody gets chances here. It's What Now Irishman.
That's the way we like it. Hot and ready. Let me just put a bit of spit in the hand. Let's go. Is that your question?
The question's been asked, yeah. What now, Irishman?
What now, Irishman? What now? Like off the top of my head, recognize the situation that we're in. Recognize the place that we're in. The majority of people are now acutely aware that all is not well in Denmark, as Shakespeare would like to say, and something stinks. And I was watching one of my good friend Tracy O'Mahony's broadcast there on Twitch today, and she was extrapolating in her own way that not only is there an agenda, but that the mid-level managers, as I like to ascribe them, have wantingly brought this upon us. This is not just happenstance or ineptitude. This is purposeful. This is from greed, corruption, compromise, I would say, as well as a lot to play into it. Compromised politicians throughout the generations and them following into it. So with everything that's going on, and given like when you first approached me and asked me to come on, we were in a different sphere. Like this is the news cycle that we've all grown accustomed to. And last week we were kind of stretched to kind of think about what we might discuss or what we might talk about, and then we had the events over the weekend, and then we have the continuing situation in the north of Ireland, as we should properly ascribe it, and so that's kind of playing out. What now? I think people will recognise the people that have been speaking loud for more than just the last 2 or 3 years, or for more than the last 4 or 5 years since COVID, but previously before that, who have put their reputations and their livelihoods online to highlight, to bring this out, to make people aware. I think for me, in my own instance, the first thought that came to mind was just, I naively probably thought, once we make people aware of this, once we show people that there is a pattern evolving, and then if you can recognize the pattern and conclude, you can see that we're on a very perilous journey, and we're now well into that journey, that cycle now, because these machinations have been decades in the making, and it will take decades as well, I would presume, to unfurl. But there's a lot of uncomfortable conversations that need to be had in the meantime, so that we can set the record straight. What do I mean by that? I mean, for most of us, yourself included, Martin, and everybody else that's been on the train long before me and during with me and then long after me when I'm gone, is we have to fall into the dirty trap of identity politics. We have to understand critical race theory, and we have to deal with, I would describe it as black supremacy, brown supremacy, and we have to shed off our temerity, our timidness in broaching race politics, identity politics, and push away the labels. Now we're doing that now because we're not the far right. We're in the majority concerned parents. That's exactly what it is. When I say in the north and the south, on the Shankill Road and the Belfast Road, and all the different areas, the loyalists coming out to show support with the Republicans, and we should get to that as well. That label itself, Republican, or how it's been bastardized to Socialist Republican. Now some of them seem to try and call themselves true Republicans. Would not understand that. And I don't describe myself as a Republican, far from it. Anybody knows my history. I'm a nationalist first and foremost. I'm an Irish nationalist, most importantly, above all. And that has meaning and that carries weight. And that ties me back to the identity politics of, we're going to have to tread the murky waters. We're going to have to stand in our own 2 feet and take power back from the people that would describe as labels, that would try to destroy your reputation, would try to destroy your livelihood and deprive your children of a future by ascribing you as a racist or something else like that. I was long prone to the phrase ethno-nationalism. I seen it as another kind of a trigger word to myself. I kind of skirted it. And in my years of broadcasting, I've skirted it because I didn't want to take up any sort of set position. I mean, if you think of that, extrapolate that a little bit further, I've definitely taken a position now. But at the beginning, I was trying to find the middle ground because I wanted to reach out to the left, or socialists, or as they're now called, libertarians, because the Orbital window was such a mishmash that I thought that if we could come together on a uniform or a singular situation or position, i.e., that the replacement migration is a real thing. It's published in the UN Migration Pact. It's part of that thesis. The ground rules have all been laid out. One person gets in, and if you read deep into it, it says 56 at the start, but 72 is the ultimate number. I don't know how they come up with these numbers, but 72 is the final number of extended relations that are entitled to come here and join with you and have to have the benefits, the welfare benefits, everything else that falls in tow with it, given to them as well. I don't understand how one person seems to get here like the tadpole breaching the egg, the lucky winner, but 72 more other spermatozoas jump into the egg, and what will result is bastardization, and that's where we are now. The bastardization, the retardation of Ireland, to smash the homogeneity, to smash the white culture. Let's be more specific, and I'll try and nail down on that. I am very mindful of my phrasing and my words. I've been very cautious throughout my years of broadcasting not to give them easy layups and stuff like that, to more pinpoint you. And that's come at a cost either way, because it doesn't matter what you say or how timidly you try to broach the subject. I see over the years many people, and it's still happening there today, I'm not racist, but X, Y, and Z. That has to be.
I can give you a term. I can give you the perfect term that I've used. And it's interesting you spoke about ethno-nationalists, because I had a very interesting conversation about ethno-nationalists last night, and I spoke to some ethno-nationalists on a space. But I'm tribalist. My politics would be, in essence, libertarian. I don't want any government. But in relation to how I view the world through the moral compass that I've been given, I'm a tribalist, and my tribe comes first, and it is as simple as that. I wish your tribe well in your land, but this is my land for my tribe, and it's as simple as that. Racism, it's like being called anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's a nonsense word. It's like being called the far right. Those words have lost their meaning. Something you broached on there about speaking to socialists and speaking to the left, and I'd like your thoughts on this. There's one glaring thing that everybody on the left and right agrees on, and it's their hatred of Israel. And that's a reality. That is an absolute reality. And it's amazing that subject has never been broached publicly in relation to what actually the left and the right have this huge common enemy, so to speak, whatever you want to call it. But nobody's ever actually tried to stick out the olive branch and say, well, we do have this one issue that we do agree on. Israeli influence in the world, and etc. Whatever way you want to call it, the Jew hole, whatever. I've read enough to know that,
I wouldn't just say Jew categorically. I would put it on Zionism and just go for the ideology of Zionism rather than label the specific. I think. Ethnic class or religion and stuff like that. I get that, but I'm just throwing the kind of blasé words out there. So why do you think that hasn't been used as a way to broach the gap between the perceived left and the perceived right? Because the left, in the majority, are complete unprincipled opposition. They are not principled opposition, as in they would compartmentalize, they would listen to argumentation, they would go through and try and find a consensus and then try and find a middle ground. They don't want no common ground. Their theory, and I'm talking about the Marxist lefts, I'm talking about the communist lefts. They want to destroy the state first and foremost, and then build up after the fact. They haven't thought that far about what they want to build up. They just know it's going to be a utopia.
Oh, yes.
They don't know how they're going to get there. They don't know how it's going to evolve, but they must smash capitalism as they see it, and they must bring down the state. So in that venture, they're nihilists, they're anarcho-capitalists, they're anarchists and such like that. They want chaos. They want absolute chaos so that they can bring their order, that they can get rid of the old order and bring in the new order, which is what we're seeing now, is because the what did they used to call themselves when they were standing outside the banks? The terminologies escape me though. Before they were co-opted by capitalism, they used to protest outside the banks, and it was quite effective. You remember the tentants outside the central bank in Dublin many years ago? Occupy Wall Street, I think.
That Occupy Wall Street. Yeah, I remember against the machine being there.
Again, believe it or not, Martin, I was dalliancing with the Social Democrats before I politically educated myself. I was dancing with the Social Democrats. Now, you see what they've become now and see what they are now. That's even a brave man would even admit to being inquisitive into all of that. Because it was an alternative to the status quo. That was the only reason.
Well, that's how people before profit came into existence, basically. And again, I've spoken to a lot of people about cultural Marxism and communist ideology, and it's an ideology. It's similar in my head to Islam. It targets low IQ, easily manipulated, lonely, not confident people, and gives them a team, so to speak. And once you're in that team, you can never get out. It's a cult. It's essentially a cult. You know what I mean? Yeah, but I can say the exact same thing for staunch ethno-nationalists, that they are also in a cult. And they are also consumed and completely blinkered by their singular ideology. And everything is far more nuanced than that. Unfortunately, if the world was black and white, we'd be able to fix this tomorrow.
Well, Martin, as well, and I mean, I have to give you some pushback as well, and it's not hard.
Absolutely, yeah.
Reality isn't nuanced. Reality, as I said, and I'm trying to, on my streams and broadcast it there, that the ultimate arbitrator, the ultimate arbitration of our situation will be the force doctrine, which will be who controls the modicum of violence, who can administer the amount of violence, who can control and direct that violence. And I say the word violence is power. It's in another sense, it's power by numbers. And we're exercising. I'm not saying we. I'm saying the Irish people, concerned parents, are flexing that at the moment, because they have been given, as we have sought for the last, in my lifetime now, 12, 13 years of broadcasting, was for a representative, a voice, a discussion, a debate on our situation, but is now transmogrified, if such a word exists, that because of that barren space that we weren't given or aren't allowed to express our disconcern with the current direction of the state, that it's now morphing into a very strong, in my personal space, but in an ethno-nationalism described, the two strands are finally separated, but they're not even separated. Tribalism is akin to ethno-nationalism, is the same thing, because if in the nationalism sort of sense, we are talking about bloodlines, we are talking about
100% genetics,
identity and genetics. Genetics is important. Genetics is scientific and quantifiable, because that plays into then IQ levels and everything else that tones in it. And I think there's more realism in ethno-nationalism and nationalism. And again, it's a scary word, and it's not a scary word. It's a trigger word. That, and again, it's to me, it's in parallel with the pedophilia, and pedastry. The two are often mixed up, but the two are concerning. Pedophilia is the idea. Pedastry is the act, is the criminal act of stealing a person's or a child's innocence. Pedastry. And again, tribalism, ethno-nationalism, it's the two strands of the same thing. It's because of our moral upbringing, is that we tend to, in the divide, to want to placate all peoples, to make everybody happy, to try and give a level playing ground. But things aren't that black and white. Things aren't that nuanced. Things have to be, okay, you can have your place, you can have your slice of culture in your area, but we are the dominant culture. We decide where, when the nation goes, and how many people come and go as is needed and required. But we must remain in the majority, and a strong, like as an ethno-nationalist, you're going to say a strong majority. It can't be a pure bloodline. It cannot be just completely white, homogenous as it was in the 18th and 19th, because we've all been affected and are being affected by globalization, cheap travel, cheap movement, That's all coming to an end. But at the moment, it's in effect, or it has been brought about in effect, to encourage the mass migration, to bring in the illegal migration, cheap travel. And now that the powers that be have planted so many seeds throughout Europe, that they're hoping that the invasive species does what it does best and overtakes the natural fauna by repopulation, by just, like I said, in Islam's case, their biggest weapon is the womb. Demographics change because of their fertility rates, and guaranteed we would match them, and we would probably outmatch them. But they're given subsistence to have that, to carry those 4 wives. They're given subsistence in a financial sense and a benefit in that sense. Whereas us, our fertility rates beyond replacement place now. But and again, even that can be returned and brought back. Tax incentives.
100%. Yeah, look, me and my colleagues have written policy on that. Everything is actually very easy to do. All that's required is will. Why do our representatives lack the will, empathy, and loyalty to mind their own people?
Corruption, greed, nepotism. We've had nepotism in here because it's like the musical chairs situation, only that the same families are playing the game and every other family doesn't get to play the game of swapping the chairs. You look at McEntee, you look at Coveney, all inherited seats to game their situations. All of their previous bloodlines sacrificed so that they can position their next in line to come in. And I say sacrificed, if you listen to me and you understand the people that used to occupy their seats and the tragic outcomes that befell them, to allow their sons and daughters to take over their seats and carry on.
Our politics is far darker and murkier than the world will actually allow us to know. There's a lot of bad people in Dáil Éireann right now, and their predecessors were bad people. So it's easy to do what they've done, because all you've got to do is buy the media, first of all. So that's number one. Control the media, control the narrative. Then you just become unaccountable. So the politicians don't have fear walking around. They don't. Why is Micheál Martin not scared to leave his house in the morning?
Because they control the ballot box. They control the media. They control the police force, which is the arm of their violence. They are, as the state, as the government, they are the ultimate arbitrators of violence, supposedly. And because of the manipulation of the ballot box, it's clear to all to see. I mean, we only have to look at Thomas Massey case in the United States. If a big enterprise like that can kick the Kentucky senator out, and we had the same situation in Biden through the mail-in ballot votes. We have a similar sort of situation going on here as well. We stick sticky tape over our counting doors to secure them overnight. That's how fucking laughable.
I've been in the count centers and I've seen the guy counting but you can tell basically after all the counting's done, go and see this, look at all the spoiled ballots, and you'll find that a lot of certain candidates who were getting number one, they happen to be on a spoiled ballot. Look, our system is far from perfect. How do we? Okay, do you still believe in a political solution, or do you believe that it has gone beyond that and that all that is left now is a form of revolution, however that takes shape?
Just quickly before I jump there, did I answer your question about the left and right divide and why we didn't come to a general consensus on mutual disdain for Zionism?
We kind of brushed over it. Yeah.
To bring it back and answer the question, primarily because I said we don't have principled opposition. We don't have people that will go through argumentation. And because the right or an opposite point of view, it will take away their power that they ultimately just want to destroy us all. So they have no inclination to discuss with us. And that pitters down then into the liberalists, or even the prostitutes, the VT prostitutes that we have now, who are handsomely paid by the state and the government, will follow and toe the line because they feel with the wealth that they're creating that they can cover themselves, they can wall themselves from the implications of what they've pushed, as in mass immigration. But diversity, if left unchecked, will carry on and will touch everybody on this island. Nobody can be immune from it, no matter how much your wealth So, like I said to you, they want to destroy the state. They want to destroy the whole place and bastardize it so that they can bring in their utopia where, they control the means of production and all that kind of jazz. So that's
Is there external influence in the left? Are there entities outside of? Is it Soros? Is it like have you been able to find the big bad? Have you been able to find the big evil?
There's not an overarching entity. They all understand the same trajectory to bring about what they want. Like people before profit, like Labour, they're all on different labels and different band lengths. They all vie for positions of power to get the power so that they control it. But they all understand the game plan of globalization. So they all play their part. It's the NGOs. The NGOs are nothing but the government talking to the government, to itself, and telling it what it wants to do. That's all NGOs are. Bought and paid for. I've seen Ben Scanlon's interview on TV3 tonight, and they're breaking through the rounders. Like, as an ethno-nationalist, again, it falls in stream with all other things. But they gave him a chance. I'll clap and laud anybody that can break through the barrier, so that, to answer your second question, and so that we can avoid an unnecessary revolution. But at the same time, the pyres are going to have to be lit. There's going to be blood on the streets. It's inevitable. But
we already have had.
I mean that metaphorically as well, Martin. I mean that metaphorically. But blood on the streets. We have to make the decision: is it us or is it them? Are we going to allow ourselves to drift away and allow our blood to keep pouring on the streets for fear of timidity, for being called a racist, or for fear of timidity, being browbeat by the police? I mean, if you get to a stage of destitution where you can't provide for your family, you can't keep a roof over your head, you can't do all of the main things, what other alternative is left for people? A great many people are trapped in the mind and see suicide as a way out. And our suicide rates are going through the roof because of the actions not only of the government, but the NGOs and all of that. Certain individuals get it. But then as a group, we have been denied access to our own welfare system. We have been denied access. Not even that. It's been obscured for us that there are extra benefits if you ask for them. It's like the karma thing that the Zionists and the rest of the big players do, is that they tell you what they're going to do, or they don't have to tell you. You know what I say, before you do it, so it relieves them of their karmic blame. So, but by that I mean is the housing list is a primary example. When I was covering protests in Blanchardstown when they were starting in their infancy, like House the Irish First and all the great people that started there, it became known to us during that gathering. One of the council workers came out and she told us, or they told us, well, she now it's out of the bag, but she told us there and then that there were separate housing lists, that there were specific housing lists that included, this is all brand new at the time, and trying to relay that to people because everybody thought they were all on the same list. Those people, poor unfortunate people that have been sitting around 15, 20 years, getting their next tickets, and then all of a sudden you see 2 months, 3 months, 3 weeks, people being afforded houses because the government outsourced it through the manipulation of NGOs to allow third-party operatives to control social housing. And those social houses then weren't given to the benefit of people who paid, bought, constructed the whole infrastructure of what they were giving out. And because it's not their money and people are easily handy to spend other people's money, they handed it out to foreign people so that their virtue could expound, so that they could feel good about themselves and that they were helping the poor minorities and the poor other people. And fuck the Irish because they were born in privilege. The more they got indoctrinated, then the self-hate crowds out. Well, these are only white people. These are white Irish. These are dumb, ignorant people. You know what I mean? So that you can, as what the fascists or the Nazis did back in the day, if you demonize a people, then it becomes morally okay to kill them, to hurt them, to maim them because they're subhuman. And that's the way our press has been playing to us through the magic of English language. Like a stabbing incident is not a beheading. A minor attack or a sexual assault is not a gross invasion of a woman's most precious thing. A more stealing of innocence, but is a rape. They won't use the actual described words, so they'll calm it down. And we've been mesmerized by that language. Let's just play it down. As I'm not going to say you specifically, Mary, but let's tone it down. Let's not offend the other side. I'm at that stage now where I don't care about the other side. I don't care about the opposition. Anybody that doesn't agree with the position that Ireland is for the Irish and anything else after that is my enemy. and should be treated with that. It doesn't have to say break primarily, Martin, into violence, but it can be active in other ways. And I want to share this idea that has been ruminating in my mind as well, about people pushing back and what can you do. Not all of us are totaled up to want to start swinging, throwing out hands and all that kind of stuff. Denial of service, like a tax revolt. Denial of service. It's a legal maneuver.
Yeah.
Denying the people, the 178 cowards that put us down and signed us up for the migration pact. Deny them service, the 178 cowards that signed us during the COVID thing, that restricted our movements and bastardized and just pushed aside the Constitution and what were supposedly all our inalienable rights, that are just cast aside, and brought in fascism to Ireland that the left still cohorts, so they can call themselves communo-fascists, because that's what they are. Communist fascists amalgamated together, like the Azov, like the Ukrainians, neo-Nazis, they all work together, even though they're supposed to be in opposition to each other. But they come together as a cozy cartel. And it's playing out in the UK. It'll play out in the United States. And dear old Ireland, let's not you forget that the bedwetters are now beginning to realise that Islam doesn't play along with LGBTQ and all the fancy words that they're playing along, and they will devour them. They will be the first useful idiots to go. But it's the rest of us that have to stand up and push back. So what do we do? What now, Irishman? Get organised in your area. Understand the flying columns. Understand your part, what you are capable of doing, and how you can affect change by supporting the people that are putting themselves out front and centre that you agree with. We're not all going to agree. There's not going to be the perfect candidate. But out of this little firestorm that's happening right now at this particular time, people will be elevated to a position of trust. People will be elevated out of necessity to form, and as you said, politics still has a chance. 2029 is the last stage. Corral is the last saloon, because after that, even I would say the previous elections have gone, that there is no result because they've selected it. But we are all honing in and watching these elections. We are all gearing up for 2029, if we can get there, because there's a world war just about to broach. That's why they're getting rid of the triple lock, not to increase our international obligations, but to drag Paddy off to the front lines, to the meat grinder. The Russians will have no qualm. They're tribalists, they're nationalists, they're Russia first. If you come to invade them or to infringe on what they seem is to the benefit of them and their people, they're just going to wipe you out. They're going to take you out. The bear is huge, and this European nonsense where we self-sabotage by sanctioning. We're on our 25th round of sanctionings, and they're only crippling us. And meanwhile, Russia's GDP and its standard of living is going through the roof, where we could all just get along, play along, if we had nationalists in the power. Sorry,
would you? This is kind of a segue, because you mentioned Russia, and I know what Ukraine is. I know what Ukraine was. I know what it was pre 2014. I know what it is now. I have a son in the Defence Forces. I guarantee you, will never, ever, ever be taking up arms against any other human being outside of this country. Would you, if Russia offered to support nationalism in Ireland?
In a heartbeat.
And so would I.
In a heartbeat.
So would I. Absolutely no.
I've thought about jumping on a plane or going down to the Russian embassy and saying, "Send me over the pooty poots. Let me have a word with the fella. Can we start now? Like before we've even agreed to form a government, can you start building that pipeline, bypass Scotland, bring it down here to Ireland, and help us construct and use our own natural resources for a fee, for a price, but let the benefit of those assets come back to the nation, not to be sent off overseas or to benefit the few as it does empowered in government. Give it back to the Irish people, like Gaddafi in Libya. You understand Libya before
you and I both know why Gaddafi was killed. And
he was giving it to the people, and he was refusing a central bank. All of this is central bank wars. Ukraine is a central bank war.
If Gaddafi had been able to bring in the African currency, what that would have done for Africa itself, basically just its internal trade, Africans wouldn't want to come here. Because
they'd have a far better standard of living than what we would probably have, because they have natural resources.
Yeah. And
they have a geography that's probably 2/5 of the realm in size and stature. Africa is a massive continent.
Yeah.
It can easily support them.
So again, that's level 10 stuff, right? It's too big for us. We're a small little tiny island nation. You know, we can't. The biggest.
That's why we should only concern ourselves with this nation.
But the two biggest mistakes, and I mean, the government have made huge blunders. But I think they made two massive errors that are completely unforgivable. Three, actually, because Micheál Martin saying 10 years ago that he wants nothing more to do with the backward looking idea of sovereignty. I think he should be hung for that. I think it's treason. I have no problem. I've said it before. I'll say it again. But they also made enemies of two nuclear powers. And I don't care what anybody's stance on those nuclear powers are. But we made enemies of Russia and Israel. And they also have two of the most effective counterintelligence, espionage, whatever you want to call it. Like, they can just decide to turn Ireland off tomorrow if they so choose. The people don't understand that why have our politicians got so much hubris? Why do they think they are so much bigger than they actually are? They should even weigh in on anything international.
It's because of America. It's because we have the bully in the classroom, as they say it, because of the American occupation throughout Europe and its bases. As the American empire sprawls out and creeps towards Russian borders, is we had the bully boy in the classroom, with the big swinging hammer, American power and American military, oversizing it. So because we had American protection, all the mid-level managers got above and beyond themselves, like the Macrons, like Martin, not even so much in an Irish context, because we're more dependent on the UK to defend our borders and our natural resources, because it's the Royal Navy and the Royal Air Force that flies overhead and gives us protection. But ultimately, Russia has no need or no idea or no ambition to conquer or to invade Russia, as they're saying. They are perfectly encapsulated in a mammoth, again, geography of themselves that they're still growing into. They're still growing into it. So they have no need to mix in. And there's some great Russian interviews with some of the bigger leaders and stuff like that. But one of the I can't remember the gentleman's name exactly, but he was saying, like, you have forgotten yourself. You've forgotten your own moral standards. You even stopped to help or stop to allow your own leaders and to bring them and to keep them in check. We've forgotten who and what we were, and we're paying the price for it now. But it will and it can come back. I'm not saying allowing people to spiral off into a dark black emptiness. It is bitter now, and believe me, it's going to get a lot worse than this now.
Yep.
This is only the infancy of it now. So if people can organise in their locality, and I mean organising with people that you're aware of, that understand the same thing that you do, that are of the same opinion of you, and cooperate together in the meantime, in the immediacy of it, for supplies, for help, for extra pair of hands, for protection. I mean, it should be obvious now that you shouldn't be allowing your daughters to walk out. I mean, I'm fucking sick driving around as a father. My two kids now are in Australia now. Like even at that, I'm 55 and I'm still calling them kids. Like they're 26, 27, they're their own adults. They're living their own life or whatever. But they'll always be my kids. Your kids will always be your kids no matter what.
100%.
And they're all out there as well. But we have to now embolden ourselves that our time is spent. We've had the glory years. I'm talking about the age group sort of thing, that we now need to make them sacrifices for our children's sake. And again, it sounds like a rehearsed platitude, but here we are faced with an external threat right now on our doorstep, a clear and present danger. What's more important to you, your children's future or your future? You know what I mean? And what does that sacrifice entail? Supporting people that are going to put themselves out in the front line. Front line of speaking out now to attacks and labels. But that's going to progress even more. So we need to form a unity government or a unity party for such. If we're going to play the politics game, it has to construct of everybody within Ireland. And that is Irish. No outsiders.
Why hasn't it happened? Okay, so the political landscape is littered with micro parties that are different functioning levels. I've said publicly, I like a bit of Darwinism. National Party are the only one. They're the last man standing. Simple as that in relation to staunch ethno-nationalist policies. And it's written really well. If you read down through the policies of that, you know what I mean? They're young, dynamic, well-presented men.
Erudite, intelligent and articulate. What more could you want? They are the people there now.
Yeah. So I'd be saying you have two choices. You can go that route, or you can go the traditional politics route, and you could roll the dice on independent Ireland. And I'm encouraging people to go in there, because if you don't go in there, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are going to go in there. It's as simple as that. Every Fianna Fáil and Fine Gaeler who is worried about their seat is going to do a Lowry on it, and they're going to join independent Ireland. Just that there's still going to be Team FFG. they'll just run under a different
It'll
banner,
be
which
the
is why I'm
same.
saying, yeah.
They'll be the same as Reform. They'll be the same as Reform. They're made up more now of more fucking Tories than anything else. And again, there's the perfect scenario of it now. Just come out now in information. Is that fella that went up to Belfast and he was given his 5-year residency? It was Suella Beverly and two members of Reform that allowed him and signed off on him to give him a 5-year visa. So it's Reform's fault. That's made up of all Tory constituents. We can have none of them.
Was Farage always full of shit, or did he get the power and then get the gun put to his head?
I think it's hard to say. I can't say. It's my opinion rather than an informed. It's my opinion. Farage goes back a long way, and he might have had an inkling like that. But I am acutely aware that he was aware of the likes of Jonathan Bowden, who I'm a big. I wouldn't say fan. I enjoy his writings and his musings. If you understand who Jonathan Bowden is, Western Civilization Fights Back is one of his good books there that you should read. But he was espousing the national context as well. He was talking about the BNL, the BNF for the British Party, the British Nationalist Party and stuff like that. Farage seen the traction that they were getting because it was in opposition, and I think he just led. Because he was a businessman, he could well-fund it and self-fund it, that he started to play around with right-wing politics and to bring it in. But he is, somewhere down the line, if you're that close to Trump, you're obviously compromised. You don't get that close to Trump, no matter what he was saying. He's not the great white hope or the great white savior. But he was allowed, and he was promoted by Trump at his ball because he probably would have played along with it. He would be the controlled opposition, we will give them our heroes, as they say, and then they'll take that position. If Reform were to get into power and Farage was to be the next Prime Minister, the borders would still be open. We'd still be getting H-1Bs and everything flooding into the country. And then you'd have to say to yourself at that stage, do we have to suffer another 4 years of a Reform government while all of this is going on, while the doors are wide open? It'll be the same here for us with independent Ireland. It'll be a hodgepodge of one or two characters that are that seem honest and want to get through it. But then they'll start bringing up career politicians, people that know the ropes. It's fucking nothing to do with politicians. Our biggest threat and our biggest enemy, to go back to your second original question as to why haven't we formed a party, is because we have a permanent government in position of the civil service class. We have civil servants that are on double the amount of money that politicians are on. We have journalists that are on double the amount of money that politicians are on. So if their basic pay doesn't cover their needs and they see the same people that they're supposed to hold control over earning more than them and are not giving out about it, then surely they're being remunerated elsewhere behind the scenes, like D. Forbes' little brown envelopes to that shyster as well. Politicians are getting their kickbacks. They're getting their kickbacks, and I'll tell you how they're getting it, through their family, to their brothers and sisters, through I'm not going to name any names. You look at the Sinn Féin leader, you look at who their relations are, where are their relations based. They're in pharma, they're in LGBTQ. Where does their money get? Who pays for the holidays for them when they go on their holidays? Their brother or their sister. So the brother and the sister is getting the payoff, and the brother and the sister can give it to the political leader without question because it's a donation from a family or a brother. So not only did 178 bastards have to be hung publicly out on the lamppost, and I don't, sorry, Martin, I know it's on your broadcast as well.
Hang on 1 second. Hold on. So number one, this is a free speech platform. Number two, I am all in favour of, I think politicians should be hung.
I'm just thinking of the algorithms and stuff like that. So that the broadcast.
Look, I'll be honest with you, I do this too. This isn't monetized. I don't do this. I do this because I enjoy having conversations. It's a good. So I could care less about social media. And if 10 people watch it, great. If 1,000 people watch it, great. Yeah,
I'm of the same mind. I obviously have the same mind as well. But I want to self-fund it as well, and I was monetized as well to show people that they will just cut your living off. But I digress. The 178 names. And 100 and all their estranged families, their families estranged as well. People like the likes of the Henry Novak kid and that family over there, Gunga Bing Dinga Ding, and his family went to cover the murder weapon, lied for his partner. The bare minimum, all of them will be deported straight away, straight off the bat. You can throw your case out of the way. I'm saying, for my tactic that I said to you earlier on, denial of service. Denial of service to the 178 that signed us over for fascism and signed up to the Migration Pact to wipe Ireland away. But denial of service to their families, to the people associated with them, to the people that support them. Like as a tradie, I'm a tradie, you're a tradie, Bart, and there's many tradies watching this with their heart and soul. We're the backbone of the GDP. Nothing fucking moves without the blue collar worker. Nothing gets built, nothing gets made, nothing gets shifted without the blue collar worker. You can say logistics and management and all of that kind of stuff play their part, but AI is going to do that. And even as a tradie, don't think there's not going to be handyman robots out there as well. So we'll all need to learn to code in some way.
I'm telling you, I've seen a piece of technology there that will put me out of a job in as soon as they learn to make it cheaper and mass produce it. A good bulk of my job is going to be gone. So that's just that's the way it's going. But
okay. Sorry, Mark, just to finish the point.
Yeah,
I want to encourage people to deny people service. Deny them in your shop, deny them in your whatever trade or whatever thing it is. And by denying that, don't work for them. Don't allow them into your shop. Don't allow them to have the service that they need from you. Get into that pact, because that's going to impact them or shun them from our society, not from society, from our society, which is Irish society, because we're now being balkanized. We've got the black community, we've got the Muslim community, we've got the Ramadan, Dingaling, Dingwank, all sorts of communities, and we're all part of that community, as the left like to say. No, we're not. We are our own tribe, and we need to, and the only way you can do that legally, without going up to the force doctrine, is the denial of service. I'll deny you, sir. I'm not going to work. I'm not going to carry out that work. I'm not going to quote you for that work. Or I'm not going to give you this product that you want in my shop. You can go elsewhere and get it. But as a nationalist, and I know who you are, I know who you're associated to, you're not welcome in this shop. Denial of service as a starting point.
It's about 2 years ago, I started encouraging the boycott. You need to boycott. I have a big problem with the vape shops, the barbers, the this, that, and the other. I will not use if and I don't care what people think, you know what I mean? If it ain't white, it ain't right. I will not allow a foreigner to cut my hair. I will not go to a counter where somebody foreign is sitting. I want
you choose where to spend your money, and you choose to give it to Irish people that you trust, people that look like you, because they're doing it. You can be damn sure they're going to their own barbers, they're going to their own. I'm talking about the different communities. But I'm trying. I just want to kind of hone into this point, Mark. Sorry to cut across again. I think it's a viable strategy, is a denial of service, and it will could lead on then to a uniform tax revolt, which would really hurt the government as well, a denial of the funds, so that the money spinner will be stopped. And that's the effectiveness in our power in numbers. The violence, again, it's a natural response, but it also plays into their hands. It also plays into the Hegelian dialect. This is what they want, in essence. So, and we will play our part in it, because it's a natural reaction to get angry and to do what's happening at the same time. But it only benefits them, because they will then see that as a position in that they can exercise more control. Well, we need to bring this rioters. People are being distressed. People are being inconvenienced. So we need to shut this down. We need to introduce digital IDs, and again, a problem, solution, reaction, thesis, antithesis, and the rest is that they've gameplayed this scenario. What will be the reaction when we flood people with alien cultures? What will be the reaction when XYZ happens, when beheadings happens? Because it's happened throughout Europe. It's happened 20, 30 years. This is not a new phenomenon. It's not a new phenomenon. They fully expect this to happen. They want it to happen to bring chaos in the streets. Part of the Marxist doctrine is to bring it all down. This is part of that process, is to smash our safe and secure, where we all adhere to the same sort of moral values. Don't transgress. We walk off pasi comitatus. I don't step in your toes, you don't step on my toes, and we can get through life. But they don't have that understanding, the people that they're bringing in. So when we talk about deportations, when you talk about mass deportations, don't play me the violin. Don't play me the violin after the stabbing of 3 children. You've heard the horrible story of the aftermath of that 5-year-old, and the reason that they kept all that off the paperwork now is because of her injuries. She's trapped in a nightmare in her head and can't express it, can't relieve it, can't even fucking turn off to go to sleep. Could you imagine on that day last year, had everybody being aware of that and the way she is now, how much that would have exacerbated? They wanted that, and they were able to tamper that down so that they know that the frog is still boiling, and still they increase the heat, and still they will boil it. But they want the splash. If we are if we are clever enough, if we can satiate ourselves to denial of service, if we can satiate ourselves with formation, coming together, finding out who the real actual people are that want to get involved, that want to come together, that want to form a party and give it an all for 2029 if we get that far. Because after that, there will be no fair and free elections ever. Because they won't be. They'll do away with elections, as the WEF said.
Even from a demographics point of view, they might have fair elections, but you're going to be outvoted because simply the foreigners will block vote. It is as simple as that. They're putting Africans into senior positions in the political parties for a reason. This is all to do with block voting, and they understand the demographics in certain areas, so they'll stick a.
And that again will play into them. That'll be the new to the parish being tribalist, and being tribalist or being black supremacists and stuff like that. Is they look after themselves. Look at the amount of people now looking for work, sending in their applications and all of that. If you don't have Gunga Sin on your surname, you're not going to get a look in because they're going to employ their own. Look at all the K circles. Look at all the different service stations. Mm-hmm. Look at all our youth can't get jobs now because they are being supremacists. They are looking after their own. They are being tribal. So we have to understand denial of service is a tribal position because these people have gone against, they are going against, who's these people? Well, your number one is 178 names that voted for fascism and the 178 that voted off in the migration pact. And don't think Mary Lewis didn't vote for it. She did that pair voting because one of the government voters couldn't vote or couldn't attend. She volunteered herself to abstain because it's a little thing that they do between them. She didn't out of virtue or morality say, no, I'm not going to vote at this because I understand it. She placated the government and paired her vote so that she couldn't vote so that the government would lose out in the balance. She's no virtue monster. And people need to understand their civic national duty and how our public representative democracy works is that they have a little cozy thing between themselves that if the numbers are uneven, that some of them will pair their vote, i.e. two Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael ministers couldn't make it, so two of the opposition must step aside so that we can balance out the thing. That's how that worked. It's all sophistry. It's all a playing for words. And it's time for people to get nationalist and ethno-nationalist in that sense because they just see you as white. They don't understand Irish culture. They don't care for Irish culture. They see you as the white man and that everything is happening, that they're excused from the law, the rules of the rule of law. They understand the two-tier justice system, that they can do whatever they want and get away with it. Because there will be leniency sentences. You look at Judge Nolan, all of that, for all this, the sexual abuse cases, the disturbing images, and the amount of times he's let that off as well. I've said not only the political class, not only the beachy prostitutes, not only the civil servants, again, but the judiciary needs a major rehaul and it needs an outturning. I've only known in my lifetime 2 judges that swore on their oath just before passing sentence. One in my own particular case, when the DPP brought charges against the person that attacked me, and he brought out he read out his oath and before he gave out the statement because he understood who my assailant or my attacker was and her connections to the government, who her father was, former Justice Minister himself. So, the internal strife. And then not lastly, but primarily, Garda Síochána needs to be completely overhauled on top of that as well. But we're going to have to go through some pain and that's only going to happen if we can coalesce together.
I'm going to lay my cards on the table. Right.
Go ahead, bro.
I don't want to be ethno-nationalist.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't want to be racist either, but I'm forced to be racist. I don't want to be
using the term. You're using a made-up term, Martin. A reference. We are not racist. None of us, black, white, Asian, are not racist. We have preferences and we have biases. We have.
That's why I use the word tribalist to describe. It's an emotional word for me, as in I'm describing. I've been put somewhere I don't want to be. I didn't ask for it. I don't deserve it. I kept up my end of the social contract. I raised a great family, paid loads of taxes, did everything I'm supposed to do as a man. Everything, ticked every single box. And now I've been put in this position, and I'm fighting to. The passage, the men who wanted to be left alone.
Of course,
that's who I'm fighting not to become every single day, because I've already lost everything. Like you,
Marlon, I think we understand. We must become them men. There's no avoiding it anymore.
Is that it though? But do you just resign yourself to the fact that at some stage,
when the call comes out, or if the situation arises, as the call went out the other night, dress up, be prepared to fight, and be prepared to get arrested. That translates as well into our future. Be prepared to die. Be prepared to be injured. Be prepared to be hurt.
Are we?
It's coming close.
No,
it's happening now because we're being picked off individually, one by one. And then the press will sensationalise it. And then because of the news cycle, it'll be goldfished. It was only 3 months ago that man was run over in the middle of Dublin city centre by a fucking incompetent driver who had already had a crash 2 or 3 months previous for the exact same thing because they can't drive. She couldn't drive, but because diversity quotas need to be met and because Dublin Bus, you remember, I would say 8 to 9 years ago, Dublin Bus was on its knees. The government wasn't even funding it. It was going to go bust. Then the doors opened to cheap labour. Then they come back in. It's like Nolan's the same thing as well. They were on a crippling business. Now they've got blacked out little coach buses. They don't think that we see them. Blacked out all the little coaches. The City West has coaches coming and going all hours of day and night, and they're being then dispersed. The whatever the place is in the middle of town where all the illegals have to go down and register and sign in, that's being done away with now.
Yeah,
and it's going
to
to be
reading there. Yeah, it's actually gone to. It's
going to go into City West. So City West is going to be the dumping ground for the world to come here. Think of that 10-year-old child that just innocently walked around in the place where she lived and worked all her life and was dragged off into a bush and raped. And the squirrel is left going, well, she was promiscuous. Well, she was a trouble child. She was a 10-year-old child that had her innocence stolen by a fucking savage that had no business being in this country. And we can get irate about it, but it's natural to get irate. But it's to direct that ire at the 178 fucking traitors, at their fucking estranged families. I'm not talking causing violence. I'm talking about denial of service. Sorry, Martin.
No, that's good. Look, it's good. I like your passion. I like your emotion. I suppose I'm wrestling internally with what I have to do. I've already made my peace with God. I've talked to my parents. My parents are very wise people from a different era. And I've spoke to them about it. And I've actually said, well, there may come a time where I have to do X, Y, and Z. From a personal capacity, I'm already ready. I have my supplies. I do a lot of outdoor stuff. I'm relatively fit. I'm
steering your position up as well, Martin. If you've stiffened your back, if you've strengthened your arms, stiffen up your position. Tribalism is a good position to start, but you will evolve to that position. Why not take that position, understand it? It's not what it says. Like, it's not the Aryan bloodline. It's like the Third Reich and all that. It's nothing to do with that. There'll still be place there will still be a place and a need for foreign labour to come in when it's needed and required to fit skill gaps when it's needed. And it's the same thing in Switzerland. Switzerland doesn't allow other people to have citizenship and stuff like that, but they can still hold their own cultures. But the Swiss culture is dominant and pervasive at all times, and that's what Ireland needs to be. Ireland,
that's just common sense. It makes perfect sense to a reasonable person. And you see, if you ask me to, I can sell that. I can sell that to Paddy and Mary. You know what I mean? That is just look. This is how this country does it. I can give you, positive examples of immigration. You have people who come for 4 years. I've written policy in relation to reduce all indigenous populations tax, and anybody who wants to come work here from a different country, it's fine, but you're paying 40% tax, and that's it. And even if you're coming here on minimum wage, you're still paying 40% tax. Yeah.
It has to be a temporary position.
Exactly. Sour the milk. Sour the milk fixes an awful lot of the of the issues. Take the money away. But let's go back then to, you're saying denial of service. Look at our Gambine politics and our Gambine profiteers. There's a whole class of people in this country, and there's hundreds of thousands of them that are ruled by one God and one God only.
Money.
And that's it. And that person isn't going to deny service to anybody. That person is actually going to let them in so they can get the contract for the bike shelter or the bus shelter.
I get that, Martin, but understand who and what we are. Look, they're not trapped in. We're not trapped in here with them. They're trapped in here with us. We have the numbers. We have the numbers to have an effective denial of service, from the smallest little bit of denial of service to denying a packet of rashes. I'm not talking about the big bucks and all their friends and cohorts who benefit off getting their political candidate into position because then he'll give them out all government contracts. That can all be excoriated and dragged out into the open as well. Of course, those gambling and greedy bastards will be dragged out. You're thinking of all of the ones that knew well in advance to buy up property left, right and centre because they knew the golden cow of iPass centres and all that was coming down the line because their political friends told them, because they have access to the European things. But I'm saying in our numbers, if enough of us start to take it up and pick it out, it will become very effective, to the point then that even the big boys now are struggling for skills and labour. They've brought in this labour force that brought in, and it's cheap if you just need to pick up move a box here, left, right and centre. But when you come to a skilled trade, we're barren at the moment because all our skill, all the next evolution of all our skilled tradies have gone overseas. So what they're left with here is us old bastards, or the dross that can't pick up a hammer, has no inclination to want to pick up a hammer or a spanner or a wrench, whatever the case may be, because they haven't got the fucking wherewithal to do it. Because they understand, and what they're led to believe is that they will be a permanent welfare class of people. They'll permanently be on a welfare class.
Give me my free.
So they've imported.
How do you sell it? How do you sell that?
I'm not selling ethno-nationalism. I'm not going to sell ethno-nationalism.
No. I'm talking about the idea. How do you permeate the idea into people's heads of
about denial of service?
Yeah,
I think for me on my broadcast, I will keep pushing it out there. Like I know everybody kind of gravitates towards the tax revolting and stuff like that as well, but revenue is going to come down on you like a ton of bricks. You know what I mean? Pay Caesar is Caesar's. The tax system is in place. Obviously, the tax system needs to be redressed and overhauled for the benefit of Irish people, not for the benefit of the world. Get the big corporations out. Understand, like in the next 2 years, I would say that the big farming here in Ireland is going to be decimated. They're going to lock up and pull out. There's going to be a huge swath of middle class people who have been accustomed to a certain lifestyle are going to understand when they go to claim benefits that they're going to have to walk into the same offices like we do in our hospitals to the fucking jungles that are down there, and then be told by some fucking low IQ, you're not entitled to this, you're not entitled to that, and you've been paying 47% of 120 grand, of 150 grand, and now you're going to get fuck all because your job is going to be taken back. The second term of Trump's last 4 years of ever being a president, he's already said, Ireland's got they got the little golden goose over there. He wants them back over in the United States. He'll have them back in the United States. All their operations are still viable. It'll be a weekend thing. It'll be shuttering, like tech. Big tech is doing it now, shuttering jobs left, right. So it's only 10,000 here. 10,000 jobs in Ireland in a certain sector is decimating.
We've got one example of it. Dell pulling out of Limerick that literally happened overnight almost. You know what I mean? They were there and then they were gone.
Millions they spent on building up that place up there, and now they're going to streamline it because it's going to be automated more or less than anything else. So we have to understand that. Big Pharma is going to go the same way. Last on that position there, just to answer your question, Martin, when we begin to realise it's not about selling it, if it starts to permeate, if people can see when Billy MP comes walking into your shop and all of a sudden you say, not today, Martin, you know, you can go down the road there, not you, Martin, but you can go down the road there if you want there and buy your paper elsewhere. You're not welcome here. And I guarantee you will see if and when it picks up and enough people to do it, that they'll start bitching about it on telly. Oh, I can't go into the shop. The far right are denying me to go into this. People that I've known and loved, you know, and I give them my business. We don't want your business. It's a denial of service. It's not illegal. I just choose not to allow you into my premises. Go elsewhere. And enough of us will do that. They'll have nowhere to go. That can happen lickety split. People will get emboldened by that, I feel. People are going to get emboldened out of fear at the moment. But if people are given something that they can practically do themselves, that doesn't involve fucking throwing hands or picking up a gun or fucking hurting somebody else that don't want to do it that way, is what I'm saying. But there will be blood in the streets at some stage.
Oh, I really hope not.
It's inevitable.
I have to put out to the universe.
I understand there's a case to want to quell, and I don't want to go there. Good men don't want to do bad things. You know, it's coming. So
there's no going back. You see, and that's my big issue. I know. In my but I know in my heart and soul that it is inevitable. I don't want it to be. I don't. Do you know? It's funny. I'm sitting here talking to you now, right? And I've known of you from a while, but I didn't have this life 6-7 years ago. I had 3 kids. I had a Monday to Friday job. I didn't work with my hands. I worked in fucking work. I was part of the system, so to speak. I worked in big corporations with DEI programs and fucking ERG scores. And yeah, the second I went, hold on, there's something not right here. Gone like that, literally overnight. 25 years just disappeared, and it's a long time ago now, and I'm okay with it. But I'm actually then going, okay, what have I left? And the funny thing is, I have more now than I had when I was in the system. Explain that to me.
I am more wealthy now. I don't have material wealth, but I have happiness. I have contentment. I have a sound mind. I have peace in my life.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I have God, first and foremost.
Absolutely. But I'm free. I'm absolutely 100%. I can say what I want. I can do what I want. I can have this conversation with you. We can be as extreme or not extreme as you want. We can talk about violence. We can talk about absolutely anything we want. But then the reality hits in is that although we're talking about this is actually going to happen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And I was lucky. I lived in the south of Ireland. I was never touched by the north ever in my life. That's why I don't comment on it an awful lot, because I never experienced it. I have no idea about people's feelings and this, that, and the other. And so I try and avoid it just out of pure respect for not. But now I have to accept in my life that I am now prepared, as in mentally, physically, and in relation to tools and equipment I have, to actually do everything within my constitutional rights to stop people harming me. And that's just somewhere I never thought I'd see myself. How did we let this happen? And it happened. We're not that far removed age-wise. How?
Oh, great.
But I wasn't.
They gave us cheap. No, I know you weren't, but as a society, we were. I'm all about personal responsibility. I don't fall into the welfare system. I don't avail of the welfare system because I understand that's a trap. Yep. The more you rely on the benefit in the welfare system, the more they have you by the balls. The more they'll keep you silent because you don't want to lose your fancy pants and lollipops, as I like to say, or as the great bear says, Owen Benjamin, fancy pants and lollipops. Everybody has too many fancy pants and lollipops that they're afraid to lose it. But I'm here to tell you, it's going to be taken away from you whether you like it or not. That's why I'm saying the inevitable, even if it's just a phrase, blood on the streets, that's going to come because the people here are emboldened to come and take what is yours. Not even just by birthright, what is yours materially now, but they will want to take it away from you because the powers that be, the powers that are in situ now at the moment want that. They want that case. They want to talk to you and gaslight you to say to you, well, these poor under the privileged people don't have the benefits or the privilege that you've had. I'm the same as you. I went when I was 18 or 17, 18 years of age. I was on the scratcher in town in Dublin. 25 punts we were given to get by on for the week, 20 quid if you were lucky. That was the amount of subsistence as an 18-year-old you had to survive. You couldn't feed yourself. My parents couldn't fucking afford to keep us all into the place. And off we travelled. But we went off and we endeavoured. I didn't go off and sit and get a fucking free house given to me. Wasn't given a wage packet every week so that I could go off and drink and abuse all the locals around the area I was with. No, I gave back to that culture that was given back to me in that chance. That's why I said, even as an ethno-nationalist, there's a place when there's a skill gap in the economy for other people to come in and fill that skill gap. So I'm not adverse to how that works. And there was a skill gap for that the people needed when I travelled as well. I'm not going to fall into that trap of the Irish went everywhere, so we have to accept, getting gang.
No, it's not the same. It's not the Irish were given nothing free.
Of course, it's not, and that's the common sense point of view. So, but even to engage in that frivolous conversation and to allow whataboutery. That's what I'm saying. That time is gone now. I don't care who you are. I don't wish to engage in the debate because you've already shown me all your cards. You're there for all of them. You're perfectly acceptable to allow them to kill, maim, destroy, so that you can reach to your utopia. So that not only are they, as innocent as they may be, And part of that re-immigration as well. If your parents came here illegally, if you're even second or third generation, fruit of the poisonous tree. If your parents came here illegally, you're going back as well. You've had 9, 10 years or 12 years of an Irish education that you deprived another Irish child that wasn't able to get into that university place or take advantage of that bachelor arts degree, because we also, the powers that be, subscribe to diversity, equity and inclusion. And that inclusion, they excluded Irish kids because of the colour or the immutable characteristics of their skin content, because DEI was being pushed forward. That second generation, that third generation, you could be classed as second, you'll be denaturalised. You can still habituate and work here, but you'll be denaturalised. You won't be a first-class citizen, which all Irish people are first-class citizens and must be given primacy in healthcare, in welfare, in housing at all times.
Now, this is the conversation I want to have, and I want the policy is called souring the milk, right? I agree 100% with you that all citizenship stripped. If you don't have a genetic connection to this country, you don't get citizenship. You can come here as on a work visa, and I'm deadly serious about the 40% tax. Anybody that does not have a genetic connection to this country, you're paying 40% tax. My people are paying 10% tax max, and that's it. And you can come and you can actually benefit my people. You'll have if you're coming from a shithole, it'll be a better standard of living than you're used to. You can stay for
sorry, Martin, quickly though, but the people are going to come in that skill gap. They're not going to come from third world countries. They're going to come from people that have skills, have IQ, and that can fulfill a gap. They will be handsomely remunerated for that skills gap, that they can bring that back and supply and keep their families going, and at the same time is paying 40%. We're not talking about cashiers or people that come over here to fucking stack shelves and stuff like that. They should be paying 60%. They won't even be here, regardless of that, because the generation of kids that are looking for them first-hand jobs, they've all been taken away now by adults who are being subsidised by the government and working in those positions and taking over your student residency because of the policies that you played around with in college and university and thought that they didn't have any real world consequences. Well, here you are meeting the boot on the ground to the policies that you advocate for, that you allowed your professors to indoctrinate you with, that you carried on in and followed through without questioning your own epistemology. Now comes reality. But we're here and we can't deal with it by mass immigration, because the benefits are almost immediately felt. The fucking illegals, the criminal illegals, the ones that are in jail, can be put into an internment camp. They can be then said, you can take this tick and go back to wherever you came from, or you can stay here and remain here indefinitely. And my field or my internment camp will be the same as the World War II General Patton's, what he did to 1.5 million German soldiers, left them in a field for a week to die. Part of history that we don't ever hear. Eisenhower left 1.5 million soldiers in a field in different camps and let them all die of dysentery. Within a week, they were dead. So you can either stay out there, there'll be no club cards, no pubs, no socials. There'll be you in a tent or a ticket and get the fuck out of here. And you watch how, when the amount of people, and those that are watching this and understand that the rise of it coming up, start self-deporting now. Avail yourself of us reefing and tearing it out, or the dangers of what's going on up in Belfast because of the initial reaction. People are being turfed out. People can be incentivized to self-deport. People can be incentivized to leave. It doesn't have to cost the taxpayer 10 grand to offer people to leave so they can hop on a plane to the UK and then jump on a ferry and then come back in and do it all again. We're done with this. The time for that is talking. I want people with real propositions and real fire behind their opinions and espouse this rhetoric confidently. And that's coming as well.
Political or social activism, or both. We had an organization called Shindadina where we had a lot of what you were talking about. We were doing. There was street patrols. There was a lot of it was active. It was all over the country. It got absolutely decimated by the media. They came after us so hard. It kind of made us think that we're actually onto something. They're coming after us so hard. A couple of headbangers live streaming, hitting people in Limerick and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Didn't go down too well. Amusing at the time, but in hindsight, yeah, it's best not to live stream this this stuff. But again, you're going to get people like that they're not using up here. That was destroyed internally by fellow nationalists. 2 years worth of building was taken down in 2 weeks. I've been involved in and seen political parties collapse in a matter of weeks. What is wrong with us? Or why are some people so fixed in their position that they don't realize you are going to have to make strange bedfellows and you're going to have to compromise if you want to win?
Probably a little bit of classism, Martin.
I'm glad you said that. I am glad you said that word. I am glad you said that word. Excellent. Because I know for a fact that it exists. Yeah, it 100% exists. And we actually got a prime example of it on X there over the last couple of weeks between two fairly prominent nationalists. And I put the comment out there. This is classist. This isn't a difference of opinion. This is one guy from one socioeconomic area and a guy from another socioeconomic area, and one might be sneering down a little bit and the other guy might be throwing stones up at the window. You know what I mean? But that's what it was. It was classism. How can that still exist in Irish society?
I think that's part of Pearce's murder machine thesis in his book. Is the education system is the murder machine. Is that we've allowed the education so that we've educated ourselves and our youth and decimates to see ourselves as uncivilized and barbaric. What the English taught, it was the English education system that carried on. And that's what Pearce meant by the murder machine, is that we'll be educated to hate ourselves, to self-loathe ourselves. That's why the saying, like, you know, for every time you see an Irishman on a spit roast, you'll see two fucking Irish people turning the spit roast over the flame. It's because we don't want to see, as part of the classist effect, is we are envious of people that can elevate, or, you know, the money wise they're affluent and they're doing well. That's all just genetics. That's IQ to get to your state in place as well. But again, part of your geography, we're all prisoners of geography in some way, state or form, and that includes your class you're born into and stuff like that as well. But in Western civilization, you have the opportunity to change your position and grow better. But that kind of is all dependent on IQ as well, on that stat. But that classist and that self-loading is brought in from the education system. Pretty much now, what we're going to see the trouble from the years to come of all the children, the poor children that are being affected by the RSE, the sex education now, stuff we were talking about 6 or 7 years ago. But because of those conversations and the likes of the broadcast and myself were doing back in them days, that more and more people became aware of it. And then we've got to this position now where we've actually got them to turn around and whistleblowers coming out. I've had teacher whistleblowers. I've had nurse whistleblowers on my show as well. Them interviews have all been taken down and stuff like that. But those breakthrough moments, those whistleblower moments were pivotal because enough people were affected by somebody that's actually inside the system, that's broached and brave enough to come out and share their voice, that message has seeped into the zeitgeist now of the Irish, and they can see it clearly now. And that again, that goes into the critical race theory of what all the Marxists and all the youth are, all those people that you see with their hair dyed green and all that shit, and you're thinking, where the hell did that all come from? That's critical race theory, which branches off into gender theory and all of that other stuff that should have been curtailed and contained in academia has now been broached out and fed into the youth system. And if you,
the reality, there's an economic reality behind that. You have to realize they called it rainbow economics. The American corporations in the 1980s realized that, holy shit, this is a moneymaker. This is as soon as the kind of AIDS epidemic had died down and you know what I mean, it was. Pride started, so to speak.
Or as we know, Fauci got bored. Fauci got fucking bored of giving him AZT, which was actually the AZT that was killing people, not AIDS. Hasn't been isolated. It was the medication that Fauci was giving them.
Yeah,
let's go there, man.
So, do you want to talk about COVID?
No, I think we're past that. I think all of us know. I think the only consequence of COVID that we should really hold it is the accountability aspect of it. As I say, all those people that signed off under emergency legislation don't have the don't have the excuse of going, I was just following orders. We were doing the right thing with the information that we had at hand. I had the same information that you had.
Mm-hmm.
You had the same information that I had. I was trying to tell people and warn people about the experimental nature of it. You had that information, pretty much like our DJs and our shock DJs. And I'm liking to see Dr. Marcus de Bruin bringing over Niall. I can't think of that clown's second name. The DJ, Niall, with the voice and the wig and the head. And I don't give a fuck about besmirching him and all of that, because he had a chance to say something during COVID as well, but he chose to take the money. I've got 2 kids in college. I had 2 kids in college. I risked it all to speak and say anything as well, because it was the right thing to do. And Marcus de Bruin calling him out as well is the peach for me, because there's a lot of people, journalists, DJs, that are all coming around going, we're only just going off the information we had there. You didn't do your due diligence. You didn't do due diligence as a representative on a radio or a public platform to inform your audience, because you knew quite well, because you were being paid handsomely to keep going on. The government was funding you.
I know it goes back to the greed. Yeah, it goes back to the greed in a lot of people that outweighs your morality. Why don't you have that? Why don't I have that?
Because
why don't I don't need things. I don't need stuff.
Because we have faith and fear of God. We have faith in our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who holds us to hold ourselves to account and have a higher moral understanding of life, that life is precious. All life is precious. Everybody, every human being is precious. I get that. But there are innate differences. Even the Lord told us about that. Hence why he split up the tongues and gave us all different languages. Didn't allow us all to speak the same language. He split the tongues up so that we could all be different forms of his creation. And it's our fear of God, because when we do go to meet our Maker, but all of this is superfluous. All of this, even now, what's going on is superfluous. It's how you conduct yourself in your life that God will judge you of being a moral and good person, or worthy to come into his kingdom, or cast you down to the darkness where you belong, because you kowtowed, because you complied, because you didn't believe in God's truth, in Logos. That's what God's word is, Logos. Did you inform yourself as best you could be? And did you try and warn others, or did you just keep your mouth shut?
I definitely didn't keep my mouth shut. nor did you. Faith. I simplify everything. I don't like to delve in. I think a lot of things man is corrupt, and anything man touches gets corrupted. So I like to simplify everything. I have a very simple relationship with God. Thank you. I'm sorry. I will do better. That's it. That's my prayer every day. That's nothing else. That's it. Just short and simple. I only go to churches when they're empty. I love churches. One of the favorite places I like to go is an empty church, and I will just.
They're healing places. They're acoustic healing places. That's what he tells you.
Yep, and it's that if you're sitting there on your own and then you hear the door open, that sound goes through the entire building and reverberates around it. And if you hear somebody walking and a priest might be foosting around, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
It is a healing place. But I'd like to say as well, God wants you to converse with him as well. I'm not saying I know what God is, but from my understanding, even if you don't fancy the idea of church, and church is a very important part of it as well, you must break the bread and wine. And I'm a sinner in that department. I still have resentment towards the church and most of the priests that are in there, because they didn't speak out when fascism was creeping over here. They didn't give us a voice. They shut the churches down and went along. The Lord and Savior doesn't protect you against a germ if it was there. Your faith and your understanding and your Logos did that as well. But like I said, the prayer, if you converse with God, my daily prayer is, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And I repeat that like a mantra. And sooner or later, I come into that place where the voice that I'm hearing in my head is the voice of God. Whatever that conversation is, whatever it's going on, throughout them 50,000 other sort of thoughts that go through your head as well. That's your moral compass. That's God's voice. If you have that conversation in your head, because you're listening. Go ahead.
Throw a concept at you, and this is what I believe in. I don't think I've ever really spoke to anybody about this before. I think that is God.
I do.
That voice in your head, the fact that I can hear my voice in my head and I'm having a conversation with myself. I don't think I'm conversing with myself. I think that's the greatest gift that God gave us, the ability to communicate with him. And that's what you're here. The gift of life, the gift of consciousness, the gift of the ability to choose, because that's what we were given, the ability to choose. And
free will.
But I think that's the voice I hear inside my head. As far as I'm concerned, that's what it is. I don't think that's irrational. I think it is the most rational and logical thing, that the reason you can hear a voice inside your head is because there's a higher power there guiding you, directing you, asking you to have the conversation and have the debate with yourself. Is this right? Is this wrong? Am I a good person? Am I a bad person? Should I be sorry for this? Etc. Etc. Etc.
Shall I go left? Shall I go right?
Yeah.
But you have to make the decision.
Yeah. So it's interesting to talk about that. My faith has waned. There was a time in my life where I would have been an atheist when I was younger. I was a socialist when I was younger. When I was young, a teenager. You're supposed to grow out of it. Everybody's supposed to start on the far left. And as soon as you get a mortgage, you're supposed to go, oh shit, yeah, this is a lot of bollocks. Capitalism is actually a really, really good thing. That is the natural, but that is the natural order of things. And this is what's been denied, because the second and look, debt is fear. I understand that debt is fear, and it's a fear to keep us in debt, to keep us afraid. But
and usury goes against God's teachings as well. Just so your audience is aware, I'm sure they are, but for the casual listener, our revenue forbids any of the practitioners of Judaism or Islam to pay interest because it goes against their religion. So revenue even has a special plan. To understand that these people, as part of that benefit system, are only playing on the loans or the credit that they're given on the principal. They're not paying interest on it like you and me. Yep. Not paying interest on their mortgages like you and me. It goes against their religion. So they're just paying the principal.
Yeah,
understand that.
Two-tier system. In
jihad of the pen, jihad of the sword, jihad of the womb.
Mm. Is Islam, the rise of Islam, is that the most pressing, clear and present danger?
Yeah, well, in the immediacy, yeah. Because of its violent nature, because of the tenets that it espouses, because of the reckless, it seeks to dominate. It doesn't want to placate. It lies and deceives. It's in the book. And for me, Islam is a political ideology. It's not a religion.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
It's a political ideology.
Yeah. So, well, it's an all-encompassing system of control.
Philosophy. It's a political philosophy. Yeah. It tells you to go to foreign lands. It tells you to befriend the people of the foreign. And then when you become the majority in the house of Al-Dalwar, which is the house of war, then you can turn on them. When you become the majority. But they did it in Palestine when what was his name there? They used to wear the kerchief back all in the day. And he made a deal with Israel. Going back down.
I know who you're talking.
Yasser Arafat.
Arafat, yeah.
Yeah, when Yasser Arafat made a peace agreement with Israel at that one time, he told the people that were screaming for his blood, remember Medina. And Medina is when Muhammad was attacking the caravans between Medina and Mecca. That the controllers were Jewish at the time, and to stop the caravans being attacked, which was Muhammad and his gang, were saying that we'll allow you to come into to Medina and stay there and to live amongst us and to stop fighting the caravans. And he said, and then over time they befriended the Jews and the Christians at that time, because they said be friendly with them, but not friends of them, till they became the majority. And once they became the majority and they got into power, what did he do? Killed them all. That's what our new to the parish will do. That's what our black supremacists will do. Do you think when the Irish become a minority in this country, which is a fabled saying, do you think we'll be given minority rights the way that they're given minority rights? We'll be hunted like South Africa. So stand up there. It's inevitable.
You can't use your refusal of service against the Islamists because they don't use their services. They're very, very insular. How do you combat?
How do you get rid of it? You have to ban it outright. Yeah. You have to say it cannot be practiced here. This is a Christian country, but you need a leadership in power that will espouse that. You cannot practice Islam here. It is outlawed. You're quite happy to go back to other nations, but part of that process, of that re-immigration process, Islam has to be banned. Every mosque has to be pulled down and destroyed and desecrated so that they won't come back. Now, I say them words and harsh words as well.
I have to agree. Look, Islam has no place in this country. It has to be banned.
Every structure taken out because it's not a religion. I don't respect it anyway. Sorry, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I won't even when I'm writing Islam or Muslim, I will never ever use a capital letter.
Oh,
Because again, language is important. It is not the same as Christianity. Christianity starts with a capital C. All of the other systems that are coming into a country do not deserve that respect because they're not the same. How again, without getting either of us arrested, how are we going to push that out of this country? These are a lot of the men going to mosques, and I've sat outside a few of them. Um, they're not the same as us. Their eyes aren't the same. First of all, they won't make eye contact with you. They look away. They will not. They will not look. They will not let you see into their eyes because they know what's inside in their eye. What's in their hearts. So they'll always look away. They'll never look at you. That is
well,
a
you have to do it in a Sun Tzu way. You have to know your enemy. You have to understand your enemy and how to dominate it. But like, I would presume I can't give you the exact roadmap because it'd be not only would it be naive to espouse how that would go about because then they would understand what you would go about and how you would do it. I would just say when the will is there, anything is possible. Doesn't matter how, do I have to draw up 50,000 coaches? Do I have to book 60 million planes and flights? No. Once the will is there, it'll happen. That's all you need to contend with.
Oh, this is heavier than I thought it was going to be. I won't lie to you.
Oh. Well, I'm sorry, I kind of go
No,
there.
it's good because I suppose it forces me to challenge myself. I haven't had the last couple of conversations I've had have been relatively kind of light, and it was actually people who were talking actually wanted to talk about other things because they're so drained and they're so exhausted from talking about the horror and the terror, and it's just kind of brought me crashing back to where I was a couple of years ago. We were geared up to go. We were going to do silly things. We were having conversations in woods. We were doing all of that kind of thing, and I suppose we thought better of it, and I would be look, I'll just say it. I'm a small bit off myself sometimes, right? And
just be careful. Just be careful what you say, Martin. You know what I mean? You don't have to put it all out on the day.
No. This is
everybody's not the same thing.
This is in the past. This is in the past. None of this exists anymore. It's all. And again, it was just conversations. That's fine. But what I'm saying to you is that when I was having those conversations and talking to those people, and sometimes I'm a little bit up myself, I was kind of looking at these guys going, "You're not fucking smart enough to do this, and you're actually talking through your absolute fucking backside." And I've met so many people like that. They have the best of intentions. They really do. They really want to help. But they can't even get their own fucking lives in fucking order. Their lives are a fucking train wreck. And they're then asking you to be part of something or to get involved in something or support something that, like you said, it ends up in the kind of blood in the streets area. You know what I mean? That there's consequences and there's going to be arrests and there's this, that, and the other. As a solution, do we need to demand better people? I know most people in the movement, and I know very few that I would actually say, yeah, I will follow you. I will absolutely 100% follow you. I will do. You just give me an order, and I will do it. I just don't see a huge amount of actual competent leadership, and I say that politically, I say that socially, I say that. It may sound harsh and unfair, but like, fuck it, if I'm giving up my life, I want it to be for somebody with a fucking plan. It's as simple as that. And when I say giving up my life, I mean, if I'm going to end up in prison or even end up in the courts or, end up in a worse situation than I am, I want it to mean something. I want it to have achieved something.
Now, look,
where are the leaders?
Pick and choose. They're here. Yeah, I have a cabinet picked out of here in my head. I'm not going to say it here publicly either, Mark, but we have very competent people. And a number of very competent people here now as well. But we're going, like I said to you, we're going through the birth pangs of nationalism again, or re-nationalism here in Ireland as well. Enough people have to figure out that every time a new enterprise is brought up, that there will be infiltrators in it. And we've gone from small line parties. Not to name a few. What was the name? John Laughlin. Was it not John Laughlin? That very first party where that chap was attacked on the tram years ago. Identity Ireland. They were the first to come out and speak against immigration, and they got utterly chastised to the point that their leader got attacked. I went to Italy with them as well because we got a Italian connections. Did a great interview over there with them, but that got infiltrated. Identity Ireland. Then we have what I became aware of, the Irish Freedom Party as well. That became an ongoing concern. I leaned heavily into that and I promoted it heavily because it was new on my YouTube. I travelled the length and breadth of the country. I recorded their comments. I recorded their public speaking places. I interviewed most of their candidates at the time as well. It too got infiltrated. And I can see certain infiltrators now kind of moving into the personalities that are getting the favour of people that are tuning into alternative media now and seeing these highly polished people, four of them now on a podcast weekly, highly polished people, each and every one of them has a Doovies connection. One is in bed with Peter Thiel. One, his whole staff is foreign born, so he avails of cheap foreign labour, but he's a lawyer and he's critically trained, and he's going into the he's gone into the evidence trail and he's gone, oh, here, look at this. If you go into the company's listing and see how they're all connected, we all understand that as well. But he smacks of a Stephen Donnelly. We have another former Fianna Fáil party consulate who I was friendly with and as well, but comes from a staunch Fianna Fáil background. And then we have the restaurateur who comes out of nowhere, but is a businessman. But he will never say the things that you and I are saying or what I have espoused here about re-immigration. He'll want to placate everybody, keep everybody on the even keel. I think the other three have latched onto his notoriety to promote themselves. But I see you and I have called out the Revita, the Peter Thiel cohort. And actually, I'll use his name, Ganley. Ganley is a shill and comes in at every opportunity to form a new government. Look at Libertas. Was supposed to be the earnings of our exit. That's where he was going to bring us, but he was curtailing us off. That fucker's making billions now of bringing 5G into Ireland, which will be part of the control grid for the social credit system. So him trying to fucking laud himself off as an opposition or as a voice of reason, or I've grown up here all my life. You are the worst kind of usurper in the world, sir, if you're watching this broadcast. And anybody attached to you, those four main highly polished little podcasts that's elevating itself, none of you are trustworthy, because people will say now, the people that are following them, when they do fall off the horse, because like all good lawyers, you have to have a good memory, and they will fall over, they will catch each other out, and they will fall over. And we'll have to go through that process again of being elevated. New party comes up, like so what Fintan O'Toolbox did in four election cycles ago, coming in with a new party, and then 2 weeks before the election, fucking scuppered the party and killed it. And everybody went back to their Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael. Same thing in the last election, sort of an uprising of new people. And then everybody fell off and went back to their old alternatives, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, or Sinn Féin shite. And ain't two Sinn Féin shite light. You know, so we've no party of representation. So there's a foreign body out there, the National Party out there. They aren't there for everybody. But do we have the time before 2029 to do anything else? And even if we do, I'll fully on board it when the right people are involved in it. And those leaders, I can think 2 or 3 that would be in my cabinet. And I mentioned her at the start. If she gave the order to me, I would fucking die. I would go to war for her. She would.
Tracy.
I know. Oh,
Tracy.
Of course, she has the smartest intelligence.
Yeah,
she has the smartest intelligence to be an Alice Fiedel here in Ireland as well. Yeah. She's getting more used to broadcasting. She has her own voice. She has her own stated position. She has an immense wealth of intellect and power to organise a party, to lead a party. And many other candidates like her as well. But she's my candidate.
I owe her a debt of gratitude as well, because when I had legal troubles and I sent her a message out of the blue, just because I knew she was a solicitor, she messaged me back and gave me advice.
There's your Taoiseach. Now I can be called a misogynist outright. I don't think there's a place for women in politics, but there are places for some women in politics at some time.
It depends on the type of woman. The white liberal woman is the most.
Women as a whole are too empathetic and too sympathetic. That's why all of this bullshit has gone, because every woman that's in power now.
That's not.
Are we going to argue, Martin?
Hang on. We are, because we're going to talk about mammies, and I'm going to tell. I'll debate this point with you. Those women that are in politics are a result of, again, cultural Marxism, feminism, etc., etc., etc. Right? That's not who your mother was. That's not who my mother was. Your mother fucking clattered the shit out of you when you acted the bollocks and called you a little prick and fucking this, that, and the other. Are you trying, like, those women aren't the same as, there's different types of women. There's hard women.
I know there is. But do you think, on the whole, that their maternal instinct will kick in primarily, and the sympathetic will not be able to make the harsh decision? They'll always try to go for equality and fairness.
No, not all women. Jesus, I've met, to be honest with you, I've met from protests and other things.
Of course, the mammies are there.
Not mammies.
They want to be political leaders. There's a difference between a mammy and a political leader.
Yeah. But I've met women that are smarter than me, braver than me. Fucking, you know what I mean? That and
Dolores Cahill for one. There's Professor Dolores Cahill for one. Well, I don't think she'd be an effective politician. I don't think she'd be an effective leader.
Absolutely not. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, but it's unfair to say that women shouldn't be in politics. There should never be. Hang on, sorry. You should only get elected on the merit. Yes, that's it. That's the easiest way to say it. And if you are not nepotism,
and my misogyny is my own personal choice, and I'm happy to debate it. And when the candidates do come up merit based and they inspire and they draw, but my own personal belief, in a sense, that it should be male dominated in politics, because in the household, the man takes the lead. In politics, the man should take the lead, because we would be empathetic to other people's plight, but we would still make the harsh decision to say, no, my people come first. My people come first. My nation comes first, and whatever is in the benefit of them. Whereas I think women will adhere to the softer touch. Now that's me describing it in the macro, not on the individual.
Yeah. No, I understand.
On the macro, it has to be. You have to take that in context.
I actually absolutely 100% that. Look, the reality is that women's nature is to stop daddy eating the children. That is the reality of our roles. You know what I mean?
Who has the capability to stab another man in the eye or refuse a man life, take a man's life? A woman can't do it. And just because, and I'm not going to get into the what if about physical difference and physical size. I'm just saying that's the masculine energy versus the feminine energy.
100%. No, I agree.
If you want a chieftain in power, it has to be a chief, not a chiefette.
There's been some good queens in time.
you go, queen. That's the only queen. And how they
no, thank you. I will have nothing to do with those backdoor shenanigans. Thank you very much.
Great. I don't want to end it there, but we need to wind it down there. I'm getting pressed for time here, Martin. Sorry about that to cut across it.
No, there's no problem. We always end on a positive. I try to, even though I'll tell you what, you've challenged me, and you've given me a lot to think about when I go away, because again, just because we talked about ethno-nationalism so much, and I was on a space last night talking about the exact same thing about people being trapped in cults, literally the cult of ethno-nationalism, and this is
the reality.
Well, this is why I love doing this, because it challenges me. I try to talk to people that I know more than me, and are actually have been doing this longer than me, because I'm learning that this is why I'm doing this. I'm learning every single day. My opinion isn't formed yet. It's as simple as that. It evolves every single day. It should
be like science. It should be able to move. It should be readdressed. It should be shift its position on new information.
Yeah, and I suppose the from a productivity point of view, because I'm productivity driven, is I'm looking for somewhere to put my energy, and that's the reality of it. I'm looking for the great white hope, so to speak. Where do I put my energy? And I can't see it at the minute. You know, it's disheartening. But you're gonna tell me something really positive now, so I can we can wind this up with a big smile on my face.
Oh yeah, thanks. No pressure.
None whatsoever.
Oh, excuse me. I would say just to wrap up, I am still optimistic, even in the midst of where we are in this timeline, just after the Belfast attack. Again, inevitabilities, pattern recognition came in. These processes. That's why when I say to you, this is only in its infancy, and there's still a great purge that has to go through, and that there's going to be more and more incidences of this type. but that there's what I'm feeling now. 2 years ago, I had the elevation of when I understood, when I heard the chants of Sinn Féin are traitors down at the Custom House and a few other positions. That's when I first became aware that the movement itself was conscious, that had its own opinion. There was enough people for the movement to have a consciousness that it moved. And that became a reality then in the last local elections, 200,000, as they confirmed, spoiled their votes or went against and didn't vote for their incumbents. And they put a protest vote in. That gave us a quantifier. That's a huge number as a start position. And I would treat that like the VAERS system in the recording of adverse reactions to the vaccinations. Only 10% of them are recorded. So you can extrapolate there's another 90% behind it. I'd say that in the voter block, our voter block, if it's counted and tally, if we can swing the 40%, and we will, and we are swinging, that's an inevitability because of the consequences of what's happening from the introduction of mass migration and all the shit that's going down with it. More people will shift from the sitting on the fence position and will take up a position. That's one of the positive sides of the thing. And not only am I an ethno-nationalist, but I also conscribe myself as an accelerationist. The real reason I spoke out earlier is to accelerate the timeline. And that even the World Economic Forum said that we have to advance our timeline because things are getting out of hand during the COVID. So none of this is not on their timeline. It's not on our timeline. This is a moment of chaos where those that project, those that dare to speak out, those that dare to step forward will sway the inevitable outcome because we haven't reached the final destination yet. This is all still up in the air for them. I know the agendas are still playing out. The digital IDs, the infrastructure of the digital prison, the panopticon is still being built all around us. But it's who gets control of that and who can deframe it and reframe it. And there's such a consciousness awakening now, even in this horrendous moment. There is a more solidifying of the movement, and it will become more evolved in its own 2 feet and its own standing. And that is a positive thing to look forward to. With Marlon and I and all these other conversations, people get bored with all of that there as well. But the real formation is coming out of necessity. It's an inevitability because it's reality. And that's where you should base yourself in all times, the reality. And our final note for me as well, if you haven't come back to Christ, if you don't think this is a come back to Christ moment, it is. God is always going to be willing there for you. God only asks you to ask for forgiveness, and he will give it willingly, to seek for your own redemption and to come back. No matter what you've done before, God loves you. God wants you to come back, and God will always be there for you. Just ask.
Mr. Rowan Croft, thank you very much.
Gramila.